Good morning. A big hug from growers to the visitors from different countries. When I was asked to talk to you, that was a real pleasure for me to come here to tell you what is it that we do and how do we do this in Costa Rica. And this is my purpose today. So I am here to tell you what is it that we do and how we do it here in Costa Rica. As a grower, I must wonder if coffee is all about price. Is coffee all about price? Lastly, coffee has been introduced into spaghetti of products within a framework where growers do not know, we don't have any influence, but we have to accept the price set there. And we have to produce without price, without any influence from our side. Is coffee all about quality? Is it the only thing that we have to take into account only when we buy one origin? I don't doubt that all producing countries produce quality. Quality is a preference. Under my logic, as a producer, so as a grower, we have price plus quality plus reliability. And what else? What else do we have to include in an origin to prefer it and to decide to buy? Let me tell you, what is it, Costa Rica? What are we doing here? 2 years ago in this conference, we talked about the model of sustainability for coffee. So I'm going to talk about applicability, how I see this as a grower. I'm a farmer and producer. A farmer is the one that lives in his farm. If a person does not live in his farm, we could say that there is an individual that owns a farm. I'm a producer and I live on a farm. I live in a small community. In my community, we are 16 houses. Out of them, 14 make coffee a living. In 1933, the ECAFE is created as a regulatory and governing body who applies the regulation 2762. This regulation is the national regulation. In Costa Rica, nobody can intervene freely in buying and selling coffee. Everybody needs to respect this regulation, and I will explain how this works. What do we have to do to fulfill this, regulation? We are 50,631 producer families. 92.3% producers produce less than 75 bags. In many cases, this is the only source of income. So we need to maintain our family, the farm, with this income. So we pay for everything, for our food, for education for our children. Licenses for someone that would like to buy or sell coffee. So the person needs to be registered in ECAFE. The law says that if somebody would like to milk coffee, it has to be registered in ECAFE. If someone wants to be exporter, it has to be registered in ECAFE. If somebody would like to be a roaster, it has to be registered in the ECAFE as well as trader. This is mandatory. We do not have coyotes. This is banned because regulations have to be respected. How a coffee year works in Costa Rica. Me as a grower, I pick up my coffee and I give it to the mill as fresh fruit and to the reception points that exist in all coffee areas. Here we do not work by weight. It's solidary. We work by volume. As a grower, I try to have most red cherries in my product to receive more for my production. And the point where I take my coffee, we give a receipt to the producer. The receipt includes the price that the mill is offering and has to pay to the producer. We also include the ID number of the producer, and that goes to the producer's template of the country. And the following 24 hours, this coffee is taken to the mill and it is processed to assure the quality of the coffee that everybody wants to have from Costa Rica's coffee. In the next 8 days, the producer will receive one payment. It is not the final payment, but this is a partial payment of this final payment of the coffee that usually represents 2/3 of final payment. I will show you where the final payment is generated. What is the use for this payment? What do I do with this payment? To pay the coffee picking, to pay the transportation, as well as to pay to prepare the farm for any farm task. And besides that, to keep the normal expenditures of a family. Once the milling company has this, they have to report every 15 days to the institute the volumes received. So the Coffee Institute always knows the amount of coffee that is being received and milled in the country. We have by month reports. Once the mill has this coffee, sales begin. But how do we organize sales? We sign a contract between the buyer and the mill, which is the seller in this case. The contract needs to be registered in eCafe. But what do they check? The preparation, if it is European preparation or American preparation, if it is HB. So this has to be included. It also includes the price, the New York stock price of the day, and the average differential of the day. eCafe has parameters about the price for Costa Rica. If the mill or the trader reports one price that is below the parameters set by eCafe, they call and they say, learn how to sell coffee. See what is happening, but this does not fit here. So you are below the parameters established. And the contract is returned. The contract is not accepted. And the person needs to check the price. This is what for? To defend the final price for the producer. The regulations always defend the final price for the producer. eCafe checks and any export as well, and it compares to the contract. They compare if we are really exporting the quality negotiated as well as the preparation in order to defend the grower, because we may be given more and better than what we agreed. We keep a sample of the coffee in case of complaints. What else? Every 3 months, eCafe checks the sales per meal. And they see also the payment made to the producer. If the sales exceed the advance, the mill is forced to readjust the price for the grower. They have to make 4 adjustments in the coffee year. What is the final price for the producer? Once the sales, all sales of the meal done, eCafe checks the deductible expenditures, the part for the grower, for the exporter, and 9% is the order for the mill. The mill has to operate with 9%. If they have costs exceed this 9%, they have to reduce expenses, but the producers do not compensate. These are meal losses. So this is how we get the final price for the producer. The producer participates as final price in all sales. It is not a single sale, no, in all the sales carried out in the coffee year. Cafe publishes in newspapers the final liquidation, and the mill is forced in 8 years to do the corresponding adjustments for the producer. This is the regulatory or regulations part. The producers receive 80% of their price per bag sold. So this is price per bag plus the differential. Cafe, for the past 60 years, in agreements with the Ministry of Agriculture and Cattle Stock, has developed techniques of agriculture for coffee. These techniques have been published. They have contributed to coffee activity in many other coffee countries. According to the coffee's quality produced in different geographic locations of the country, Cafe has selected 8 regions. You know about them. So, Costa Rica, we are 0.03% of the world in surface. We produce 1.2% of world's coffee, and we produce 2.32% of coffee produced in America. The coffee has accompanied this country for 200 years. The development of the country is mainly due to coffee. In the economic dimension, what does coffee do? Remember that 80% of the price gets to the producer, but what do we do with this 80% of the price? 62% of the price is for labor, and the other part goes to fertilizers and other expenditures. 62% out of this 80% is spent in labor. How does this contribute to development? Labor on site, work points. This generates work in the coffee plantation in the community. What is the contribution of this? To avoid migration of people from coffee areas to poverty reigns in cities. Why? Because they know how to make a living in this coffee area. And this produces rural development. Coffee regions in Costa Rica, social and economic development in Costa Rica is better than compared to those places without coffee. In the social dimension, historically, we have said that coffee has been Costa Rica's model for social development. Coffee chain in Costa Rica, we are 50,631 producer families, 172 mills, 32 roasters, and 57 exporters registered. They are registered and can legally operate, and the only ones that can operate because this is a regulation of the Republic. But we use 8% of the task force of the country. But the biggest uniform force in the country is made up by thousands of students that walk around the streets and places in Costa Rica. 69% of educational centers are not located in cities. They are located in rural areas. This is the big success of this model. And 96.3% of the whole population of the country is little. The education in Costa Rica is mandatory and free in elementary school and secondary high school. Without that, I probably would not be here because I would have never been able to study. I got a scholarship. I always studied on a scholarship because my father didn't have money to pay the education or stay near a university. Each dot that you see on the map represents a school in Costa Rica's map. So this is the distribution of the educational centers in Costa Rica. Public health. What are we, Costa Rica, in public health? 90% of the population has access to healthcare services. How is the minimum wage decided? The Ministry of Labor revises every 6 months the minimum wage and adjusts it. And this wage includes the payment for coffee cajuelas. The coffee picker is paid by this measure. We pay more than the minimum wage in all the farms, both normal and regular salary as well as the payment of the basket. So that's why people from neighboring countries come to pick up coffee in Costa Rica. In 2 months, they got enough resources for their family, and this is equivalent to 8 months of work in their communities. So they come for 2 months, they make some savings, and they can live 8 months with that. 80% of municipalities of this country have something to do with coffee. So environment. What is Costa Rica regarding the environment? 50.32% of the Costa Rica's total area is protected by national park systems, reserves, or public or private reserves or conservation areas. In last years, this country has invested more, mills in this country have invested more than $120 million in using clean technologies. We moved from using 4 cubic meters of water, 2.35, and even less, with a reduction of 92% of water that we used before. We have developed water treatment technologies such as irrigation for micro mills. There is a policy for 2021. What is the contribution of coffee for this policy? What is the advantage of coffee? In mitigation of greenhouse gases. Coffee is a product that adapts quite well to climate changes under the system of shade and production that we have in a safe production. But all this will never be worthy if we are the only ones to say this. I believe that this table, this comes from United Nations, and it says that Costa Rica is ranked 9 out of the 10 biggest producers in America. And we are the country with the smaller percentage of people living under the poverty standards. We are the second one with the highest labor cost, including the social security aspect. First one and fifth one in conservation of forest area. We are not cutting our trees versus the negative changes that we see in other countries. We are the third country in the percentage with the third country with the percentage of forest cover in the country. We are the first one in literacy. We are the first in investing in public health, first in health index, first in investing in education. The life probability from birth here is very high. We rank second in the Human Development Index, and we are first one in Happiness Index. This involves the ecological footprint, life level part. To decide this happiness index includes these aspects that I just mentioned. What do we have in Costa Rica? What is Costa Rica? Costa Rica is a real model in operation, a measurable model, a sustainable model. The table comes from the United Nations. We didn't create it. So, Costa Rica's coffee is not only price and quality, or do we sell coffee with an added value of a model of development. Is this a cost or an investment? We have been working on this for 200 years. So growers continue working in this pathway. I know that here in the room we have representatives of large companies, roasters that invest and that have invested. In sales, they would like to know that the coffee they purchase is safe and that has a social, environmental, and economic responsibility. What do we offer? Country Costa Rica, to you. This is intrinsic in Costa Rica's coffee, and not because we say that, but because we are assessed, we are evaluated by United Nations. Anyone can sell Costa Rica's coffee and can mention the seal that Costa Rica's coffee needs its traceability from Costa Rica, and all these sustainability values. According to the three pillars, social, economic are part of the Costa Rica's coffee. Each dollar paid for coffee of Costa Rica, we producers will receive 80% of this dollar. So this will sustain the model in rural areas, coffee rural areas. I'm sad. I feel sad when I'm told that my coffee is expensive. I don't buy you because I can find a cheaper coffee. Do you have the certainty that what you buy in other countries goes to the producers, or does it remain in the hands of coyotes or middlemen? Here in Costa Rica, we have a regulation from the Republic, and this is what has generated development, the rural development in coffee areas. I believe that it is not by breaking a successful model the way we could create another one. I believe that it is by preserving a measurable, traceable, and sustainable model where we can develop models in order to have a comparison, to know if what we are doing somewhere else is like this. If it is like this model, we are working appropriately because this is a successful model that has generated well-being and wealth. It has made also that the growers feel and live still in the farm, and we do not move to cause troubles in the cities. This is Costa Rica's coffee. Café de Costa Rica is coffee with added value. And this is what I wanted to tell you. We want to be part of your change, but we want to be valued as we are in that chain. Important for you as you are important for us. It is important to know that you are friends that are here, that we love and that loves us. Thank you very much.